A lot of left-wingers and Democrats absolutely lose their minds. Two standout tweets from the last few days is he said, "I strongly supported Obama for president, but today's Democratic Party has been hijacked by extremists." And then he also said, "The far left hates everyone, themselves included!" Exclamation point. Today I want to have a psychological and philosophical discussion about how the left wing in this country has gone extreme. And any honest person that wants to understand how Elon Musk and hundreds of millions of people feel, this is a good starting point. There's something separating the Tulsi Gabbards, the Joe Rogans, and even the Bill Maher's, who I'm not a fan of, from the AOCs and the quote-unquote woke left-wing journalists and techies. This is a message that they really need to hear, whether they want to hear it or not. The live show starts now. What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you being here. And today I just want to kind of do a psychological deep dive as I can into, what Elon Musk would call left-wing extremists. He said he liked the Obama Democrat Party. I know a lot of people that are conservative will listen to this and said, well, I think Obama was always extreme. But the point we're really trying to get to here, and that I think is extremely important, is not just the policy, which a lot of people were not paying attention to, including myself when I was younger, but really just the rhetoric and how people are treating each other, and what I think left-wingers need to hear. I want to start with Joe Rogan, who's been in the news a lot. There's some people who love Joe Rogan, some people who don't like his content, etc. But I think one thing that's pretty clear about Joe Rogan to me, as somebody that would probably consider myself a moderate, like 5 years ago, I didn't really care that much. I lean left on some things I didn't even know. But Joe Rogan has on Sanjay Gupta. Joe Rogan has had on Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard. He's had on someone in, I think, Ostenheimer. I forget his name, but he's in the Biden administration. He does like virology for Joe Biden, and then he's had on right wingers, holistic doctors, etc. He's just kind of like a middle ground, in my opinion. As somebody who listens to him sometimes, other guests I don't really care about, Joe is not, despite what the left wingers say, he's not this like right wing extremist. He's just like very fair, asks questions, sometimes plays devil's advocate even when he doesn't agree with it. And you notice right now, I know a lot of right wingers who don't like Joe Rogan, but I don't know anybody that wants to kick him off of the air. It's become a mainstream left-wing stance, left-wing corporations, psychotic people in the Democratic Party. It's become status quo to be like, not only do I not agree with this guy, but I want to completely eradicate him from the public sphere and try to get him kicked out of this platform. That's the type of extremism that Elon Musk is talking about, and that, myself, now I lean more right on most every issue because of, I would say, 2016, Donald Trump, watching the media, etc. I started to pay more attention, and the more I started asking questions about, interesting issues, I started realizing, well, it seems like the right wingers are being more honest about it. And then when I go back to the left to ask questions, instead of trying to win me back over, say, here's why we're right, here's our opinion, here's why Donald Trump's wrong, they just were like emotional, nasty, angry, intolerant, and just trying to just call you names and stuff. And psychologically, it's a terrible, terrible way to get somebody to listen to you. Compassion, empathy. I'm not saying that the right has it all the time. They certainly don't. But, the left was supposed to be this open arms party. We love everybody. We don't care if you disagree, to the point where they're taking what is literally somebody that's like almost completely in the middle, leans right on some issues, leans left on some domestic issues, like a Joe Rogan. And they're acting as if this middle of the road person is like far, far right. So you're almost ensuring the fact that people are going to turn into right wingers because they don't want to listen to you. People like AOC, she's coming out and screeching and screaming on Twitter. I see her he mentions that the left hates themselves and that they've gone too far left. And she's like, no. And it's like, you're the exact type of person, AOC, that he's talking about. It's like, instead of learning, self-reflecting, trying to assess the situation, like, what are we doing that's turning a lot of people off? Like, what's going on our side of politics that people don't seem as interested as they were a couple of years ago? There's no humility, no self-awareness, no self-accountability, no self-reflection. These things work in any sort of field, right? It's all just like attack mode. No, I don't want to hear that, I'm extreme. And it's super, super bizarre. I don't know where Elon's head's at. I know a lot of people don't trust him. Some people say, well, Anomaly, what about Elon? He's got this Neuralink. He wants to plant a computer chip in your brain. And I always say, my brain, I don't want a computer chip in there. But Joe Biden, he seems a little slow. He seems a little sleepy. I wouldn't mind seeing a computer chip go into Joe Biden's brain. I don't, only if he wants it, but he seems like he could use a reboot. So although I'm not for Neuralink and computer chips in my brain or your brain, perhaps maybe President Joe Biden could use a little upgrade from Elon Musk. So Elon, if you're listening, maybe you could work a little Neuralink on Biden. He needs some help. But jokes aside, I think as somebody that runs a business and, he runs a huge business, at a certain point, things don't work for no reason. Like if you're in the NBA, you got to work really hard. You can't play the victim. You have to be great. You have to make no excuses. If you run a massive company, you have to produce things. He started speaking against socialism and communism. And Elon would say, I'm not against the left because I am left, but people on the left are pressuring Elon as if they don't know how things are made, where he could say, yeah, you could take more of my tax money and give it to the government, but even that doesn't make sense. Before we get into him creating things, people don't realize that the government during 2020 and 2021 printed tens of trillions of dollars. That's more money than every billionaire in America combined. Nobody, to my knowledge, has over $1 trillion. If you took the money from Bezos, Gates, Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, the government could waste that in 2 weeks and then turn back to the people and say, we want your money. So this idea that Elon Musk can solve world hunger, this is like this dumb left-wing talking point that I keep hearing. Why isn't he solving world hunger? Ask the government who printed $6 trillion in 2020. You want to talk about health? They made childhood obesity go up. People are more addicted to opioids than ever. They have 20 times as much money than Elon spent, and they didn't get rid of world hunger, but you don't ask about that. So this whole, ideology of, the billionaires, we need their money. It's like, to do what? To drone strike children in the Middle East and to, line the pockets of just like, politicians' friends. People don't understand it. But going back to production, it's not even that left wingers want to say like, Elon should pay more money and this. They just don't understand how things work. Where at the end of the day, I don't own a Tesla and I don't like it, but it's a functional car. It's like at a certain point to be a business, you have to get from here to here, do something, make it at a low cost, create a product, make something that people want to buy, market it, and make it go. The left, I don't feel like that's where I think Elon, and I can't speak for him, but he started realizing as a business owner, he's like, these people don't understand how I do anything. They just want to take everything, seize everything, tell me how to run. And they couldn't run a business if they wanted to. So it's like, you see into their eyes where it's like, it's not even just a political thing. Like, we want more welfare and you want less welfare. It's like psychologically and mentally, like you said, it almost seems like you just hate yourself and you're projecting your hate onto everybody else. It's like delusional psychosis where you can't figure stuff out, because any aspect of life, whether it's a business, a sport, a relationship, you need self-awareness, you need self-accountability, you need humility. You can't make excuses. You need to be able to produce and do something. And if you're just all emotion, screeching and screaming, getting ticked off all the time, and somebody like a Joe Rogan bothers you, really? Like, to me, I use Joe not to be like stereotypical or basic, but to me, he's really like as middle of the road as you could possibly be. Sometimes he even flip-flops on stances depending who's on, because he's playing devil's advocate. Like Joe, there's 20 left-wing things that I don't even agree with Joe Rogan on. And sometimes I don't listen to his show, but I would never in a million years be like, the problem in this country is Joe Rogan. Like, that's the problem. And the fact that that's like a normal left-wing talking point, and these people don't see themselves, like, look at yourselves. 10 years ago, you said, we'll defend your right to say it, even if we disagree with it. Now, Elon Musk is the big problem because he said the First Amendment's important. He's identifying that the Democratic Party in rhetoric, behavior, emotions has gotten even more extreme than they were under the Obama administration. And you guys don't want to think about it. You just want to freak the F out. It's like Bill Maher. I don't even like Bill Maher, trust Bill Maher. I think he's a sneaky guy. But, even he gets eaten alive. He probably has more right-wing audience than left-wing audience, even though he's a Democratic Party shill, in my opinion, just trying to redirect people to the Democratic Party. It's like people can't handle anything anymore. So, has the Democratic Party got extreme? Obviously, and it's deeper than just the policies that they're doing. It's just their attitude. I've never seen anything like it, where they just, it's a disgusting psychological habit to just have no humility, no self-awareness, no self-accountability. I don't even like the Republican Party. People think I criticize them too much. People come here and say, normally all you do is complain about the Republican. I'm not somebody that just sits and says, Ted Cruz is my best friend. I don't even trust Ted Cruz. He's better than Beto O'Rourke, Beto, but he's not, he's a politician. But there's nothing like the just total delusion of people like AOC screeching on Twitter about hate crimes are going up because of the Elon Musk. Like, she's trying to blame Elon Musk for hate crimes. First of all, if you really look at Stop Asian Hate and all of these hate crimes, where are Asian people the least safe? they're the least safe in cities. San Francisco, New York City, LA. Like if you're an Asian family and you live in a Democrat city that has a high crime rate in a bad neighborhood, that's where you're going to get beaten over the head most likely. It's not going to be in a white neighborhood. They're telling you white supremacy. You go to a safe white neighborhood as an Asian elder, I guarantee you you're safer than you are in the middle of a city. That's just basic common sense. I'm not saying there's no bad white people out there or hateful white people. I'm just saying like they're like, this is their way of solving hate crime. The way I'm just AOC and I'm going to solve a hate crime by, blaming Elon Musk for bringing free speech back to Twitter instead of self-reflecting and realizing the city that I live in or pretend to live in, New York City, has gone to shit. Los Angeles gone to shit. San Francisco is like a dystopian nightmare. They have more money than God knows what, and they can't fix that city around because they got dummies like AOC running the city, right? Let's take Ted Cruz and Donald Trump and all these people out of the equation, right? Let's take them away. What are you doing, though? What's your policy on policing? What's your policy on crime? What's your policy on schooling? They don't have good policies on everything. It's all driven by this emotional outrage and trying to find a scapegoat, whether it be Donald Trump, Elon Musk, or the billionaire class. I don't even like the billionaires, but what are you suggesting, right? Okay, Elon Musk is a bad guy because he owns that. Who should own it? You want to take everything? Government just take everything, and then you run it, AOC. What are you going to do with $5 trillion? You couldn't even solve. I give you one neighborhood, AOC. I would give you $50 trillion. Here's $50 trillion, AOC. I want you to go into the south side of Chicago where people are murdering each other in broad daylight every weekend, and I want you to fix it with $50 trillion. She couldn't fix that with $500 trillion because it's deeper than just a money issue. But these people that can't create, they can't produce, they can't have basic common sense, mindset, good mindset, they're always trying to seize and take and steal from everybody else. And, the root of what he said, I got to read the exact tweet. He said, the far left hates everyone, themselves included. I think that belongs, I'm not just gaslighting Elon. I think that belongs up there with Aristotle quotes and Lincoln quotes. The far left hates everyone, themselves included. It sounds simple, but it really is profound because a lot of outward hatred is internal. Like say if I go to a Taco Bell, disgusting food, but I'm just using an example. I mean, it tastes amazing, but it's just not good quality. And, the guy's being really rude to me, right? Oh my God, he's just being a jerk to me, or I'm being a jerk to that guy. Is that guy the problem or am I the problem, right? There's some people that are miserable when I see them and ask for a cup of coffee. I didn't cause them the hatred and the anger. It's like there's something going on in their daily life. They're either a miserable person, they have a bad attitude, or maybe they had a bad day, and now they're taking it out on me. There's like a, deep-seated sort of thing where I'm a pleasant person 9 days out of 10. It's because I am pleasant internally. The reason I'm peaceful to others and happy to others is because internally I'm happy. Other people, yeah, you could piss me off for a short period of time, but it's the same as in a relationship. You ever met somebody that uses their ex as an excuse for 30 years? At a certain point, yes, it's not right. Yes, there are certain things, but you have to get over it yourself. The type of people that are always blaming others or always using something as a reason to be angry or upset, it's really an internal issue that they need to fix. And once they fix it, they'll stop scapegoating the whole world. So, psychologically, a lot of these far left wingers like AOC, when I see her speak, you could feel me when I speak. You could watch me and say, you know what, Anomaly, he seems, sometimes he gets a little worked up, but he generally seems like he's pretty peaceful. He's having a good time. He seems pretty calm, pretty reasonable. That's because that's really how I am. That's how I feel when the camera's off. With AOC, her energy looks like a psychotic pigeon, like she doesn't, look at the difference between, go look at a picture of Tulsi Gabbard and go look at a picture of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Regardless of what you think about Tulsi or AOC, you could look into Tulsi Gabbard's eyes and they say that the eyes are the window to the soul. She's got nice eyes, and I don't mean like I'm hitting on her. I'm just saying she's got very kind, soulful eyes. You look at AOC, she's got these dark, psychotic pigeon eyes. She looks like a pigeon outside of Chick-fil-A trying to steal your nuggets, like it's because she's not at peace herself. So what Elon said, I think that really is the case. Not every Democrat is, hates themselves, and not every Republican loves themselves and is perfect. There's millions of miserable Republicans. There's millions of dishonest Republicans, but the far left, like Elon's talking about, these crazy activists, it doesn't root, in my opinion, from a place of power or a place. It's like it roots from a place of deep-seated sadness, depression, anger, self-hatred, and that's why they're so nasty outward. So that's why my message to everybody, left wing or right wing, is to change to change the world, you got to change yourself. If you want to save the world, you got to save yourself. You want to heal the world, you have to heal yourself, because if you're not coming from a place of true strength, then it's all phony. And that's the left wing nowadays. I'm not even saying the right wing's right about everything. If the left wing was sane and normal, there are some things that they could correct the right wing on. And there are actual left wingers that I semi respect that actually do some good work. But it's not these left wing extremists who don't know that, oh, there's an extremism problem. It's like, it's a mental issue that these people have, where they're just spiraling in every aspect of life because they refuse to face reality and the truth. And they have zero humility, zero self-awareness, and zero self-accountability. And it's ugly. It's ugly to listen to. I'll have conversations sometimes with people I meet. And a lot of times I'll talk to somebody in their 20s, and I don't get super political or anything, but it's fascinating how many people, and I'm not saying that everyone right wing's perfect or everyone left wing's sad, but like, you talk to someone that's huge political activist, they also have mental health problems. They're also like psychotic. They don't know what they're doing. It's like, I'm not being rude, but a lot of the media and the Democratic Party, they prey on people that are lost. Who's their biggest voter base? I mean, women, young, and I'm not saying all women are lost. I'm just saying they like to get this emotional manipulation. Like, let's get the kids when they're young. Yeah, before they're fully developed and they even know what's going on. That's why when someone turns 28, when I was 22, I believed a lot more Democratic Party stuff. As I got older and wiser, and I stopped being so self-hateful. I used to have confidence issues and self issues as well. I'm not a perfect person. I never had confidence growing up. I would say even in my 19, I was a little bit like, I had some issues. And once I started working through them and paying taxes and learning how the world works, I'm like, oh, okay, now. And I was always a very open-minded person. I was never these extreme leftists like you see today. Even when I was left wing on some issues, if I had a Republican friend or a conservative, and they had a thing that they would tell me, I wouldn't just shut them up. I was never that. So that's kind of what I'm trying to get to. I can't speak for Elon, but this is the type of energy. We don't even have to agree on any domestic or foreign policy, but can you treat me with respect? And I'm not saying right wingers are perfect. A lot of them are not nice as well, but it's like, I'm not taught, I'm not every other right winger. You're not every other left winger. Who are you? Are you going to lead by example and be yourself? Or are you going to say, well, they're doing it and I'm going to do it too and be like a child? So it's like, when I talk to left wingers nowadays, not all, there's a lot of good ones left, but their energy is just so toxic. They're so emotionally wrong about everything. And maybe perhaps the worst thing is they're so intolerant to anybody who questions or pokes holes in any sort of their narrative. Where if I believe in certain scientific sort of things, or, I have this idea and someone pokes holes in my argument with pretty reasonable things, I'm like, oh, thank you for quite, I'm trying to learn and evolve, and I'm always like questioning myself, etc. With them, it's like they're 100% sure about things they're 100% wrong about, and they just become outrageously nasty about it. I was never that way growing up. A lot of people that supported Obama, we're not saying his policies were necessarily moderate, because some of them were, some of them weren't. But even just his attitudes and his actions, I mean, he was definitely a sneaky politician, and I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. But the general consensus in the country outside of the television and the media was somewhat, maybe it wasn't for a lot of people who were right wing at the time, but somewhat moderate, where you could have conversations with your friend and be like, oh, I get that. Now it's just like, this is who we are. Anybody who thinks differently than us, anybody outside, like, free speech is bad. The First Amendment is going to cause hate crimes in San Francisco. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, does she even believe herself? But once again, getting back to Elon's tweet, the far left hate everyone, themselves included. I don't think AOC is at peace. I don't think she's a happy person when the cameras go off. I don't think she's somebody I think she has deep issues. I think they're like, it's like demons spiral. I'm not saying literal demons are spiraling out of her, but when she talks, like, she just looks like a ticking time bomb. Like, just like all these issues inside of her, she looks psychotic. Where if you listen to Tulsi Gabbard, she's calm and peaceful. I mean, she's also Hawaiian. Not every Hawaiian has peace, but Hawaiian is a beautiful culture. Aloha, mahalo. It's this different culture of like, let's take our time. Let's move slow. Let's listen. Let's be compassionate. You could feel the aloha out of Tulsi. You don't have to trust her. I'm not saying you got to, go run to the DNC or something or whatever, but like, you can just feel it. There's something about feeling it, you can only speak so much, but at a certain point, you could also kind of interpret based on people's body language. I'm like, when Tulsi talks, I'm like, oh, this lady's at peace, she's pretty calm. She's pretty reasonable, even if you don't trust her, whatever. She's pretty chill. AOC is not chill. I don't think she likes herself. And I'm not trying to, it's like Taylor Lorenz, the Washington Post journalist who said she was suicidal and depressed and she's getting all these threats. I never want anybody to threaten Taylor Lorenz. That's a horrible thing to do. This lady's crying for help. Taylor Lorenz is a head case. I don't sit here and make fun of her like a lot of people do. And I mean, she brings a lot of it on herself. But I say this, I'm not even being sarcastic. It's like, you listened to her talk 2 weeks before she tried to dox that Twitter account and put her personal name out there. She was complaining about the exact same thing to her. It's deeper than just left wing, right wing. I believe this, you believe this. Taylor Lorenz is a depressed, suicidal, mentally ill journalist who needs help. I'm not making fun of her. She needs to get some help, and she's surrounded by terrible people who lie to her all day. There's nothing funny about suicidal thoughts and depression. I'm not joking about it. This is not sarcasm. I'm saying she has issues. She desperately needs help, but instead she's getting this cushy Washington Post job where a bunch of psycho leftists who will probably hate themselves just as much are go ahead, keep doing it. It's like, no, don't do that, Taylor Lorenz. If you don't like getting threats, why would you post some anonymous account's personal information? Oh, because she might be a Russian? That's a lie. She's not a Russian. That's the excuse that you guys use to go against Americans and weaponize the press against American citizens who disagree with you. Why don't you have a conversation with her? Like, this is how a normal person would think. If there's somebody left wing that I see out of proportion, I'm thinking to myself, like, yeah, I could joke about it and say I don't like it, but I don't act as vicious as these people. I'm like, I would love to sit down with the liberals of TikTok, even though I don't even follow them. I want to sit down with them and hear, maybe if they want to talk, why did they start this? How do they feel? Are they aware that, maybe it's not nice to start? Not just like, let me publish her personal information 2 weeks after I'm crying about being suicidal. Let me publish her name out there for the world, even though Taylor Lorenz knows if the liberals at TikTok would do something similar to her, she would not enjoy it. That's called having no self-awareness, no self-accountability, no humility, all of this nastiness inside you that you don't want to heal from or you can't heal from. You're projecting it onto others thinking that's going to make you happy, but it's never going to make you happy. It's the same as AOC. I don't know if she really believes herself. I mean, she's getting rewarded and hyped up for being such a wicked, vicious, nasty, psychotic lady. But it's like at the end of the day, when the cameras are off and, Congress is closed and you're just at home, everybody has to deal with the energy they put out, the spirit they put out to the world, and what they do on a daily basis, including myself. Nobody's above that. Nobody's perfect. But when you act this way all the time, and I could feel your energy, there's something missing, and I know what's missing. It's having no self-awareness, having no self-accountability, having no humility, having none of these principles of compassion and empathy. Even if Tulsi Gabbard was this left-wing, Democrat, which she worked for the DNC, a lot of people speculate because she had a World Economic Forum posting. You can speculate what you want. I think these are questions that Tulsi needs to answer for because a lot of people are curious. But in general, if you just listen to her, feel like it's like, I genuinely think she's a compassionate person. Even if Tulsi Gabbard said, I'm still voting Democratic Party, I could say she's full of baloney. I could tell you she's controlled op or whatever. But at the end of the day, I genuinely feel, I could feel energy. I feel that she really is a compassionate person. She's like a real liberal, even though she leans more right now, Tulsi Gabbard, it seems like she's a real liberal who says, I don't like hatefulness on the right wing. I don't like hatefulness on the left wing. I really have compassion and empathy for conservatives, and I really have compassion and empathy for liberals. I like people like that. I like when I go to Hawaii and I hang out with the hippies, like the real hippies, not these hippies that live in shitty San Francisco apartments with 7 cats and a crackhead outside their door. They're running the city into the ground and they blog for Huffington Post. I'm not talking about those fake hippies, those left-wing psycho. I'm talking about like a real hippie that lives in the woods for $400 a month and just like smokes weed and, sits by the ocean. I actually like those people because it's like they're really hippies. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to be people think I'm a hippie. They're like, policy-wise, I would say I lean right on almost every single issue now because the left is insane and it's made me recalculate what's going on. And I tend to agree with libertarians or conservatives on almost every issue at this point. I'm not going to lie. But spiritually, I still am a hippie/liberal because I am compassionate to the left wing. I don't want to make fun of Taylor Lorenz. I think she needs desperate help. I really feel that type of energy. And that's the type of energy, regardless of policy, someone like a Tulsi really has that compassion. And someone like an AOC, I would say she's like more deranged than some of the craziest right wingers I've ever met. Like, you know, her energy is like more deranged than like Pastor Anderson. And I don't even dislike Pastor Anderson. If you guys don't know who Pastor Anderson, Google it. He's hilarious. But you know, he's got this pretty angry energy. I'm angry. He's a Christian. I'm angry at the devil. Like he's not compassionate to the other side, you know, and it is what it is. I think he's a character. But like I would say AOC is like a crazier version of him, just a left-wing version. She has zero compassion for the other side, zero empathy. She is like deranged to the point where she's like wildly hateful towards people on her other side. I mean, she's hateful towards someone like Elon Musk who actually produces things. Like, I'm not a left winger. I'm not interested in these, you know, like, oh, I sent a Tesla into space. I'm like, sure you did, buddy, but whatever. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But, you know, in general, I'm not this Elon Musk fanatic. I don't drive a Tesla. You know, I'm not really following his space stuff that much, just to be honest. But you know, as a human, I'm like, I get what he's saying. And he does all these things that are actually impressive to left wingers. Like, oh, we want solar energy. It's like he does what you say you want to do. You could never do that, you know? So you're not even remotely appreciative and grateful that you have somebody on your side that has revolutionized the, you know, the electric car industry and Solar City, you know, that's his solar panel company, or he used to own it. You're not even remotely grateful that there's somebody doing all these things that you want to do. And that's not your Green New Deal. How do you think you're going to do a Green New Deal, AOC, with people like Elon Musk who actually makes solar panels, dummy? Not someone like you that looks like a psychotic, evil pigeon that just sits in Congress and takes TV and Netflix deals and, you know, just like spouts hate all the time. She's a hateful, nasty extremist who just calls people white supremacists when she disagrees with them. She's a psychopath. So it's like, these people are so deranged, they don't even support people on their own side. Meanwhile, the average right winger nowadays, not all, but most, will literally support people that diametrically hate them, like Bill Maher, you know, who's still a Democrat, still a liar, still a controlled op fraud. I mean, he's a nice guy. He makes jokes, but he still says he's going to vote Democrat. But he says he likes the South better. Then stay in a Democrat city, bro. You know, don't tell everybody to vote Democrat if you're going to just go move somewhere else because you can't handle it. But in general, it's like, you know, right wingers like Bill Maher. It's like, whatever, he's still a Democrat. He still tells people, but at least he's reasonable, because that's how desperate a lot of us are. The left is so psychotically nasty that if you can just find somebody moderate, even an Elon or a Bill Maher or someone, it's like, at least they're not AOC. You know, it's like right wingers are way more open arms nowadays. It's like, give me one, just say something reasonable one time, and we'll share your clip and be like, thank you for using your brain. Someone like a Russell Brand, thank you for using your brain, Russell Brand. Naomi Wolf, thank you for using your brain. Glenn Greenwald, the far left gay guy from Brazil who used to live in America because the Snowden thing, I guess he had to leave. And I'm just saying he's actually politically probably further left than the Democratic Party, Glenn Greenwald, but he's somewhat reasonable, and right wingers like him more than left wingers, even though politically he's further left than Nancy Pelosi. But his base is probably at this point more right wing than left wing, because Republicans, the average, actually respect middle of the road or like somewhat common sense in some area. Just give me something and we'll applaud you, you know, whereas the left is the complete opposite. They're like, give me solar power, you know, Teslas, electric cars, and everything that I want in the Green New Deal. But if you agree with free speech socially and politically, and you're not going to censor everybody like the Minister of Truth, Disinformation, you know, Big Brother government out of 1984, if you're not going to do that, then I'm going to call you all these sort of names, racist, billionaire, I want to take your, like, that's how evil the left wing is. How does AOC not realize that? All of these false ideas she has for a Green New Deal, none of them work without companies like Tesla and Solar City, which Elon Musk was able to establish, which AOC could never do. She could never do something like that. She can't build. All she does is destroy. It's like, you have every reason, AOC, to like Elon Musk more than a right winger, because 9 out of 10 things he does are right wing, are left wing. His big crime, what's the crime of Joe Rogan? What's the crime of Elon Musk? What left-wing crime did they commit to get the entire establishment, the Democratic Party, and these left-wing psycho extremists like AOC? What crime did Joe Rogan and Elon Musk commit to get them off their side? Let's start with Elon. Despite doing everything left-wing, He believes in the First Amendment and he's trying to bring it to Twitter because he did a poll and 70% voted that Twitter did not respect the principles of the First Amendment. And he decided, well, this is a democracy. 70% of Twitter voted that it's not really for free speech. So then he did something about it. That's what they're mad at. I mean, if he were just to buy a company and implode, they don't care. I mean, there's so many wicked billionaires doing so many wicked things. And it's like his big crime is being a producer for the left wing, but he believes in this is who the left wing is. This is why Elon Musk thinks they're extreme. They're extreme because when Obama got elected, despite the fact that some of his policies were not great, he couldn't have got elected if he didn't believe in free speech. No politician in American history, a country, people need to understand, Europe is not free. In Germany, you go to jail if you question history. In Islamic countries, you will go to jail if you question certain things. In America, this country was founded on these principles of the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. These are two things that the rest of the world doesn't understand: guns and free speech. That's just what America's culture is. It's something that has made America, despite our massive flaws, extremely innovative, extremely creative, and sometimes extremely degenerate, but interesting. We've had the freedom to explore certain things without government intervention and their ability to jail us or fine us for speaking things that are unpopular. That's what makes America interesting and unique. That's just our culture. That's not the culture of the rest of the world. So point I'm getting to with that long tangent is never in history has a politician been able to win in the Republican or the Democratic Party with these ideas of not believing in that literally founding principle that defines America. I would say that's one of the defining things of America: free speech, guns. There's some other stuff, obviously, but that's something that makes us very, very unique to the rest of the world. So now Elon Musk is trying to say we're not. It is kind of extreme that something that you couldn't have got elected doing, you now openly, nearly the entire Democratic Party, nearly the entire left-wing tech establishment, nearly the entire left-wing press is openly admitting that they don't think that free speech and the First Amendment can be compatible with democracy. So their democracy is not really a democracy. They're an authoritarian, Orwellian party that is offended by citizens having the power to breathe without a mask on their face, go to work without being locked down. Do they not realize that they are supremacists? You want to talk about supremacy? Let's talk about political and liberal supremacy, where you think you get to go to work, but no one else can go to work. Oh, it's really dangerous. So we're going to sacrifice these employees because they're essential, but not you. You need to close your business, but I'm going to get paid. What's more supremacist than that? Liberals are supremacists. They go to the Super Bowl without a mask, but you can't go somewhere without a mask. Oh, but it's just for a few seconds. You don't think Deborah in San Francisco wanted to run her business for a few seconds and not let it implode and get sucked up by the government, you scumbags? These people are so evil. They don't understand this stuff. So the fact that they get so unhinged, watching the response to Elon trying to tell them that the Democratic Party has been hijacked by extremists and that they hate themselves and they're ruining it, the fact that they can't handle it, it's like you guys have taken a principle that has literally defined America and kept us away from government intervention. Oh, Donald Trump is Hitler. It's like you just created a disinformation government unit that when Trump wins in 2024, if that happens, he gets to inherit that. It's the same thing when Trump created Space Force. I never celebrated Space Force. Space Force. Who do you think runs Space Force now? Kamala Harris. Oh, wow. Now we have a new branch of government that Kamala Harris gets to run. I mean, maybe it'll work and maybe it's helpful to our military, but in general, eventually that disinformation, this authoritarian power that they're trying to create will go right back in the hands of Republicans. And there's actually a clip of that disinformation chick. She's literally I just saw it on Twitter. She was talking about in 2020 when Trump was there, how she didn't support executive orders on free speech and stuff. And now they're doing similar stuff. It's like, why, none of this is normal. None of this is popular. And the further unhinged and the further towards authoritarianism and Orwellianism that they go, the less tolerant that they get. Like if you're going to go from, gay marriage isn't popular to I want to transition a 2-year-old, the least you can do is allow there to be a discussion around this massive jump that you're doing. The fact that they're not willing to have a conversation about a massive jump that they're doing shows that they're evil psychopaths. You're taking it from here to here to here to here, something that nobody would have thought 10 years ago that you're now trying to push in modern culture, something that both parties would have rejected 5 years ago that you're putting into modern culture. The fact that you're doing it is weird enough, but the craziest and the most unhinged extreme part about this whole thing is the fact that you think you should just be allowed to do it while censoring opposition. They're authoritarians. That's what the left wingers are. And I don't even like the Republican Party. I think Trump failed us. I think to people like Ted Cruz are like half-wits. They're doing the right thing half the time. They're phone calling Zelensky half the time. Oh, I believe in free speech, says Ted Cruz. Didn't you just Zoom call with Zelensky a few weeks ago, the man who banned 11 political parties and consolidated state media? Oh, but you won't talk to him, will you? So it's like, you don't really believe in free speech, but I get it. I don't trust the Republican Party at all. With that being said, how else could I ever vote for the Democratic Party again? I have to vote all Republican, not because they're actually going to do that much, but at bare minimum, they're not full-blown authoritarian psychopaths who just keep sliding down the path of delusion and destroying cities and destroying culture and destroying these basic ideals of everything and acting like you're some sort of crazy nut for disagreeing with them. And the thing that I say to the AOCs and the Democratic Party and people who don't like Joe Rogan and Elon Musk and stuff, I don't care if you like them. I know hundreds of right wingers who don't like or trust Joe Rogan or Elon Musk. You don't have to. But here's the thing. It's like the people that are defending in droves their right to disagree with them are the right wingers, because right wingers are somewhat confident in their ideas. We don't need to censor an authoritarian if we have a competition. It's like, I always use basketball as an example, but it's like, if you're confident in your skills as a basketball player, you want to play the best of the best. It's a coward that would try to, do what Nancy Kerrigan did or whoever it was, where she takes out her opponent. It's like, that's not confidence. Oh, let me just, hit the bus off a freaking hill of the opposing team. Oh, now there is no team. Oh, I won the championship because their bus went off a hill. I knocked it off a hill. That's evil. You guys, so the right wingers like, yeah, we'll compete and we'll see who wins. The left wingers like, we don't even want you to exist, and then we're going to win by default. That's not democracy. That's authoritarianism. So that's a mainstream stance in the left-wing sphere. And I just want to explain to people, because I know there's going to be a lot of conservatives and Republicans that listen to me say, anomaly. I was reading the comments. They said Obama was extreme. His policies were extreme. And you could say George Bush's policies were extreme. And I'm sure Jimmy Carter was pretty far left, but I guess the difference that I've seen is, and maybe this was always there on the fringes, but it's been this complete intolerance to any sort of disagreements. It's like, we're just going to go further than Jimmy Carter, further than Obama. We're going to socially and culturally get crazier and do things that most moral people think are immoral. And we're not even going to allow a conversation around it. And if anybody rises the ranks, somebody like a Joe Rogan, who obviously he got the show Fear Factor and got a lot of money, but to his credit, he got into podcasting when nobody cared about podcasting. The reason Joe Rogan's so popular in podcasting, he made a lot of money on Fear Factor, had enough money to just have FU money and chill with his friends, and started podcasting in like the 2000s when nobody was podcasting. And if you listen to Rogan, same thing as Elon. You don't have to like Rogan, but really listen to him and you'll understand, oh yeah, he's better than, CNN. He's clearly better. Even if you don't trust him, he's better. He's a good interviewer. I would say, as somebody that I consider myself a pretty good interviewer, I think Joe Rogan, he has years of experience on me, but I think he's the best interviewer in the country. I think he asks great questions. He plays devil's advocate. He's not perfect. No one is, but I think that's what an interview used to be. It's not like if you go on, and this is the real reason that they hate people like Rogan and Elon Musk, it's all control. If you go on CNN, the second that you go on there, they're pushing you in a certain direction. Like, you don't even have a chance to stand. It's not like, who are you? What do you think? This is who you are. You're like, they're pushing you in that direction. And to be fair, Fox News does that as well. Part of it's because they only have a few minutes to talk. They don't have long form, but also there is a certain agenda there on both sides where they're not looking to really hear you out and have a conversation. They're looking many times to frame you in a certain way and just let that be the case. They have their idea of where they want to go. Rogan, this is why people like podcasts as well. You have more time. And also it's more of like a, who are you really? Now, you can't really hide who you are in 2 hours and a half. If you have a show and it's all lit and stuff, you can kind of make, Like, I'm pretty tall. People see me in person, like, you're pretty tall. Yeah, I don't look tall here because I don't have anything for reference. But in general, some people they can make themselves look like Iron Man. I'm 8 feet. It's like when you got a camera and AI and all these people editing and stuff, you can make a 2 minute clip however you want to make it, but you got 2.5 hours. It's just you in a chair with a microphone. Your true nature comes out. So that's why they really like Joe. It's not his far right extremism. And to be clear, also, to people say Joe Rogan's this, Joe Rogan's that. I don't care what you say. You could act like you don't like him from a right wing perspective, but I appreciate Joe because he has a lot of health people on there too, athletes. I don't talk about it that much here, but I'm a big athlete. I love sports. I love exercise. I love learning about nutrition. Joe Rogan hosts all these. You're never going to hear somebody on Fox News talk about nutrition or CNN. So I'm learning all these skills. I take direct offense, not because I'm like I got it, Joe Rogan, this or that, but I know how it is. You get rid of Alex Jones. Now you go for Joe Rogan. Now you come for me. You come for everybody. But in general, it's like, I like Joe even when I disagree with him because he has value. I'm always looking there's so much value there. I'm learning about these things that I don't know through health experts that are not like mainstream Fauci's, but instead jacked meat eaters and things that I've never really heard before. So, and then he'll have a vegan on. And I trust myself to kind of weave through the information and choose what I like and leave what I don't. But them trying to get rid of that, it's like trying to burn a library. That's what they're trying to do to Rogan. It's book burning. It's like, let's get rid of this entire library. And now you have to go to CNN or Fox News, or you got to listen to Chris Matthews. I don't want to listen to Chris Matthews. I certainly don't. Brian Stelter is a clown. Are you kidding me? He's not even worth 3 minutes of my time. The dude's a total joke. It's like burning my library and giving me like a little crappy book and being like, read this one instead. It's like, I don't want to. I have the whole internet and I choose to listen to this. So it's like, them doing that is just wild. It's not even that they disagree with them. They're just trying to book burn and absolutely censor and destroy any information that goes against their agenda. But, a lot of what Elon said is true. He said, they hate everyone, themselves included. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing to the children. They're not preaching mental health and you're going to be so happy when you grow up. They're preaching an ideology of victimhood. They're preaching an ideology of inversion. Men are women, women are men, families aren't important, women are powerful, men are bad. I mean, do you want them to be depressed and suicidal? Like, what do you think they're going to grow up this way? They're totally inverted. I come from, I love my parents. God is great. I appreciate both of them. But my family had divorced and it's okay. I mean, I turned out good and I'm actually grateful for how things turned out. That's called a grateful mindset. I don't look and play the victim and cry about how my life could have been. I say, man, I'm glad my dad was like that. I'm glad my mom was like that. It made me who I am. And at a certain point, I had to man up in my 20s and be my own person. That's just how it works. But in general, I could look at that and say, hey, I'm grateful for how I came out. I'm appreciative. However, I also do see statistics and I do see that, having a family stay together, there's value there. Of course, you look at some inner cities and the fathers out of the household rate are enormous. It's not racism to say that. It's genuine compassion. As somebody that comes from a family that's separated, it's like, yeah, if you have 70% of the neighborhood, it's not even like their parents are separated, but their father's completely out of their life. Now they're being raised by just some other. You don't have the masculine feminine dynamic. You don't have the father figure at all in that case. And it's not a racist sort of thing. It's like, man, if we could get people to stay together and form communities, these kids will grow up better instead of growing up on the streets. You say something like that, they think that's right wing. It's like, oh no, that's racist. The men can be the women can be the men. The women can be like Taylor Lorenz, like 49, no family, no husband, and you're happy and powerful. It's like, no, you're really actually not. And it's not to say you can't be happy by yourself in your 40s or something, or I can't be happy by myself. But even as somebody that is by myself right now, this is not a life goal of mine to show you how powerful I am. Eventually, I want to find the right people, settle down and make a family. It's like, there's nothing inherently wrong about that, but they want to act like that's not right and that's bad. So it's like left wingers are pushing their mental illness and depressed, perverted mentality onto everybody. You don't have to agree with me sexually. I mean, as long as you're not messing with little kids and stuff, it's like, you can feel the way you want to feel with your partner. 99.999% of Republicans aren't going to care or even know if you just shut up about it and stop telling it to like third graders. I need to tell them how I feel. It's like, get some friends. A lot of these loser teachers are probably just like, have no friends. So they're talking about their sex life to kindergarten. It's like, you're disgusting. Find some adult friends and then have a conversation about what you're doing. Don't, put it on the kids because you got no social structure and community because you think social structure and community is the patriarchy. So you're alone teaching little kids and you're telling them all this stuff. It's like that's a direct response to the fact that you're rejecting all these conservative values of reality. And now you're only social circles the kids you teach with, and you don't have anybody your age to actually have these conversations with. It's like all of this roots, without getting too off topic, it's like they're just rejecting reality on all fronts. So people don't have to listen to me. I'm sure most people don't. But in general, I mean, not only are, like Elon said, you're hurting yourself, but the fact that you're trying to push this to kids and the world, what comes around goes around. I truly believe that. And it's like the energy you bring to the world. If you bring great energy, if you're inspiring people, if you do the right thing, I believe God blesses you and he will give you abundance and give you peace. If you give yourself peace and you put in the work to be honest with yourself, right? People always say, how do you know who's telling the truth? Who do you believe? And it's like, to be honest, I'm skeptical of a lot, but at the end of the day, I think my best quality is I tell the truth to myself. Even when I mess up, I'm not perfect in my real life. It's like, but I'm honest about it. I'm not in delusion of like, I have a pretty good set of morals. And it's like, yeah, that's not the greatest thing. It's like if I eat a bunch of food at night or something and like Cheetos, I don't tell myself that's amazing, I should do that every day. It's like, yeah, I should probably not do that again. That's not the smartest idea. So it's called like being honest with yourself. If you're honest with yourself, that's how you figure out who's telling the truth or not. But there's so many people that lie to themselves all the time. They're writing op-eds and it's like being obese is like the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. And it's like, here's the thing. I don't care how big you are. There are some fat people that have a blast. You know what I'm saying? There's 300-pound men who have more fun than a skinny guy. And as a man, it's almost better to be a little bulky than like too skinny, just like presentation wise, to be a man. But in general, it's like, I don't know. It's like if you're honest with yourself and you're like 450 pounds, like, yeah, it's not the greatest thing that's ever happened to you. Like, it's like, oh, this is what women should aspire to be. Like they're writing things like this. That's the difference. It's like no one's saying you have to be perfect. I'm not in perfect physical shape. I wish I was, but I need to work harder. Get what I just said, though? I need to work harder. It's not everybody else's fault. If I want to take it from here to here, it's up to me, not up to, Donald Trump and Charlottesville. It's like, I got to figure out how to get there. So that's how you, I think, figure out who's telling the truth is just be honest to yourself. But you're finding people, it goes on the right wing too, but especially on the left, they're literally wrong about everything. They have no self-awareness, no self-accountability, no humility. Their entire world is inverted. A guy's a girl's a guy, a family's a bad, a husband's a white supremacy. The founding fathers were racist and nothing good ever happened in history, even though these ancient texts are smarter than anything I've ever read. Like obese is beautiful, skinny is supremacy. It's like everything's like literally inverted. That my kid's this kid. It's like, like you could lie to yourself if you want, but this all ends when you stop lying to yourself. No, I can't tell you my politics. My politics don't even matter. If there's left wingers listening, it's like, I don't know who listens to me at this point, but it's not even like, we could talk about policy later. This goes to everybody. It's like, if you're more honest with yourself, your whole world will open up. But the longer people just deny basic constructs of like science and reality and just act like they're going to save and change the world, it's just wild. So I wanted to go off on this little thing. This is going to go on my Dream Rare podcast. I'm going to, before I leave, just read a few comments and questions. We have 1,200. I'm going to look at a few of them. But I really kind of got set off in a good way, inspired by Elon's tweet. He said, the far left hates everyone, themselves included. And that goes to people on the right wing too. If you're a hateful person in general, I'm not saying there are a lot, but there are a lot. Nobody can make you less hateful except for yourself. How are you consuming media? How do you handle it? What type of person you are? There's a lot of people into politics that are leaning on politics as a way to get out there. And that's fine. I do the same thing, but it's like, at the end of the day, if it's your peace of mind and how you feel, no one can change that except for you. So think about it, because a lot of left-wing activists, their crutch is left-wing activism, but the real problem is themselves, their mentality, their soul, their thought process. And, no, you're not saving the world until you figure out internally what you're doing. Same thing with on the left wing. There's a lot of people that are a little too angry and nasty. And it's like, there's bad left-wingers out there. But at the end of the day, I think it's up to all of us to do a little more internally. And I love the fact that Elon was saying that, because I always talk about that on my live stream, and I'm like, wow, he really gets it. Like, they are very hateful, and it does root with them hating themselves. Not all left wingers are doing that, but the extreme ones that want to cancel. I mean, once again, Elon Musk, Joe Rogan, pretty middle ground. Okay, they're more left than right on domestic issues. If you can't handle Elon Musk and Joe Rogan as a left winger, you've lost the plot. The problem is not them. The problem is you. Look internally. That's my thoughts. Skybird said, I don't trust Elon. Here's the thing. You don't have to. I'm not telling you to put a Neuralink in your head, but I do appreciate what he's saying. I think culturally he's making a good impact right now. And I go with my senses, right? A lot of people, you got to go with your intuition, not mine. I would say I don't trust everything he does, but I appreciate his energy right now. I guess my appreciation for what he's doing kind of exceeds my fear. But I hear what you're saying. Someone said mostly the journalist class. No offense. I mean, it's easy for people here to think this, but yeah, I mean, and I agree with you. Like normal people are despising journalists nowadays, and the average. I could be a journalist. I don't really write, but I do video journalism. You know, these journalists are so pompous, where they're like, "I'm so important, but I'm a journalist," and it's like, you know, how do you think that feels to working people? I don't know what you do, Ronsky. God bless, but like, I got 1,200 people here. It's like people, everybody's important. Everybody does a job. When you're sitting there and being like, I'm an important journalist, I need to censor the truth. I need to tell you what's real or not. Let's call them journalist supremacists. You know, their supremacy. They're information supremacists. Brian Stelter, we are disinformation supremacists. It's like you guys are such narcissistic, egotistical, fraudulent losers. Like, no offense, but most working people could do the job of Brian Stelter. You're not doing anything. You're not good at your job. Tucker's pretty good. Glenn Greenwald's pretty good. You're not. So it's like the fact that these people are literally like, you know, the journalists are the worst. They're but they think they're so great. Oh, it's an attack on journalism. I like journalism, but you guys are just so crazy. You lack self-awareness. You lack self-accountability. They lack humility. And then they act like these supremacists, like, oh, we need to tell you how to think. Like, do I talk to people like that? Of course, I have my opinion. Sometimes I get a little fiery, but at the end of the day, I always like think for yourself. If I feel good about what Elon's saying and you don't trust Elon Musk, go with your intuition, right? You're not me. You don't have to think how I think. And that's what makes the world go round. I don't like the way Brian Stelter and like Mika from Emma, you feel how they talk down to people. Like, we're the ones who are supposed to tell you how to think. It's like, that's weird. You know what I'm saying? You're not treating me like you're treating me like I'm a dummy. You know, I don't like to treat people like they're dumb because I meet certain people, they have certain skills that I don't have. I do a lot of research. I definitely try to learn a lot. But when I'm, you know, trying to sell somebody on my ideas and stuff, I'm assuming that they're, you know, listening and can think for themselves. And, you know, everybody has their own, every single person that's listening to me has read different things, has watched different things. Everyone has their own reality tunnel that they know more than me in some cases and less than me in some cases. So it's like these journalists are such scumbags. They're so nasty. They're so negative. They're so backwards. They hate American people and they treat everybody as if they're so smart and they're so dumb. They're like all these uneducated Trump supporters. It's like the fact that you have a PhD and you're dumber than people who didn't graduate high school is embarrassing for you because you're the one running around. I'm so smart. I'm so smart. Why? It's like, yeah, people without high school degrees are better at voting than you. You know, like what does that say about what are you doing at college? Because I think education is important, but what are you doing at college? The fact that you go to college for 4 or 8 years and you come out literally more brainwashed than somebody who dropped out of like sophomore year of high school. Like that's, you know, and they're like, it's the uneducated people. It's like, it's interesting that people without government brainwashing education know a lot more than you and also have like basic instincts, you know. It's like with the vaccine, like they said a lot of black people in New York City didn't get the vaccine, right? And it's like it's weird because a lot of black people in New York vote for Democrats, but they just, you know why? It's just instinct. You know what I'm saying? They don't need a college degree on freaking science. It's like they just have instinct of like, all right, these people are forcing me to get this stuff on every television station. I don't trust it. You know, instinct is important. And anybody who tells you otherwise, it's like, oh no, just listen to the Rockefeller Foundation textbook that you got. That'll tell you. It's like, it's not how the world works. You know, even if you go to college, you don't want to be like egotistical. A lot of people are like, they follow rules, they get good grades, right? I'm a good rule follower and I know a lot. You always want to think about everything, and that's a lot of schools. Like, come, we'll tell you how to think. And that's why a lot of people that don't have college degrees are actually smarter. It's not that education's not important, but they have like instincts and also the ability to, keep it simple sometimes. A lot of these educated people, it's good to learn a lot, but they're so narcissistic about it. I got a degree. I have 7,000 hours learning about racism in Nicaragua. And it's like, okay, but are you humble enough to talk to an electrician and learn something? Or, like, are you humble enough to know that maybe not everything your teacher said was completely accurate? Are you humble enough to listen to the other side? Are you humble enough to not want to censor them off of the internet if they disagree with you? You're not, then you're not that smart. It's bizarre. This is a little late, but I'm glad he said it. He said, haha, pigeon trying to steal someone's chicken nuggets. Doesn't AOC look like a pigeon trying to steal someone's chicken nuggets? I'm not being rude, but she just has that like, bucket, bucket. She's like, bucket. And you're just like, gosh. She's like, let me steal your money. Let me take your taxes and blame Elon Musk. I'm like, get in line, AOC. Order your own chicken nuggets, get them fried, battered, or however you want, baked. Get your waffle fries and get in line. Okay. You're not special. You don't get to steal my chicken nuggets. I know you have money. You get paid for my taxes. So you sign big deals. You probably have more money than me. You can afford your own. You go to galas. You show your face at galas while everyone has to wear a mask. Equality, feminism. All the Democrat elites get to smile for the Getty camera, but all of these peasants behind me, it's like, go get my water, wear a mask for my health. And oh my gosh, what a joke, but it's all gravy. Someone said the boring company is simply drilling deep underground. You think they're drilling underground military bases? I don't think so, but maybe. I don't know. Richie said, you're on target today, brother. God bless you. Thank you so much, Richie. I appreciate you. I'll read a few more comments and then I'll take off. I want to let y'all know too, I apologize because I've been doing a lot of work, but I will do a private live stream next week for my Facebook followers. I have that access. So we'll do a private live stream for anybody who does like the subscription on Facebook. For Patreon, I'm answering questions. I've read your questions and I am going to answer them and put them up and make a whole video answering Patreon questions. So I got to get that done. Let's see. Someone said, Polish guy, I suggest you don't stand with either Russia or the US. I live in the United States, so I'm literally standing with the United States because I'm standing in the United States. But I like Poland. Don't get me wrong. I love Poland. It's just Poland and Russia have a different history, so they feel a certain way. I know they're on the side of Ukraine. Me, I'm asking myself, how much cocaine money does Zelensky need? If Ukrainian babies need money for diapers or something, and like, that's fine. But it's like, how much of my money is going to Zelensky's cocaine habit? That's all I want to know. Maybe he doesn't do cocaine. Maybe it's just a joke. Maybe it's not. I have no idea. So I don't know. It's like, I'm a little skeptical of the whole situation from every angle. Someone said, I definitely stand with Poland. I like Poland. I just don't know exactly what's going on. All right. One more. And then someone said Yugoslavia. I know not much. QWERTY said the disinformation board will be the #1 source of misleading and false harmful information. We'll see what happens. I'll weigh in on that and then I'm going to take off. Real quick, guys, godblesshats.com. We have black beanies in, baby blue, regular hats, pink hats. We got cream colored hats. We got navy blue beanies. We got more in stock than I've ever had at godblesshats.com or dreamwear.com. But, that misinformation board, it's like a glorified fact checker. There's going to be left wingers there who want people to vote for the Democratic Party, who want people to think left wing, who want people to think Hunter Biden's laptop is a Russian conspiracy theory. People like that are now in a government position, like an authoritarian Orwellian society, and they're going to try to decide what you can and can't think, what you can and can't say. And it's just so weird because, if they really wanted to gain people's trust, they would go sit down with Joe Rogan or somebody and give a 2-hour discussion and explain, Here's why I have to do what I have to do. But the reason that these people are getting so narcissistic is because they haven't had to question themselves in a while. Because if you can just censor your opposition and write it off as, oh, they're all racist, they're all sexist, they're all xenophobes, and they're all misinformation, then you don't even have to think about what you're doing. You have this false sense of hero, like, oh, I'm the best because nobody else exists to me. So it's like if they ever sat down with Joe Rogan and explained how they were going to fight disinformation, they would get absolutely exposed. That's why they want to get rid of Joe Rogan, get rid of anybody who questions them at all. So now they're the only show in town. And once they're the only show in town, it's like, oh, yeah, we'll tell you how to think. And it's like the level of narcissism you have to have in order to have multiple fake stories posted on your social media in the last couple of years, yet still tell the whole country how they can and can't think. These people aren't looking to gain people's support. And this is the creepy part. They're not looking to gain your support. They're not looking to gain your trust. Like me, I'm trying to gain people's trust. How? Through being honest, through discussions, conversations, telling you how I really feel, challenging myself sometimes. That's how I want to gain your trust. And at the end of the day, you could trust who you want. I'm not the government trying to like freaking tell you what to think. Like people don't even have to watch my show. It's like you have the whole internet and you should. But in general, with them, it's like, that's the game they're going for. They're not going for this game of trying to sell you on a political party. They're trying to take control of everything and just make it essentially illegal to think or do otherwise. I mean, it's straight up authoritarianism. It's straight up an agenda of like, well, this is what we do. And if you have any questions for our, like, imagine thinking that you can't do disinformation or your word is above anything else and you're going to tell. It's like it's wild. But God bless you guys. God bless your family. God bless America. God bless the world. This is going to go up on Dream Rare podcast as well. If you're interested in podcasts and that's something that you do, I mean, you shouldn't. You should just be listening to Brian Stelter and Joe Biden. That'll really set you straight now. But jokes aside, if you do listen to podcasts, my podcast is Dream Rare Podcast. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple, it's on Podbean, it's on every podcast app everywhere, ones that I don't even know exist. If you don't use the mainstream ones and you like some sort of independent podcast, you can go find it, listen to it. Dream Rare Podcast. This is going up. We got a lot. I had a conversation with DC Drano, the founder of Gab. A lot of people. Next week, I'm going to have more conversations with a comedian, a hip hop artist. It's going to be cool. Dream Rare Podcast. And as always, this show is self-sponsored by GodBlessHats.com. Thank you guys checking out shirts, tank tops, long sleeves, sweatshirts, and then the new hats. Appreciate it. Have a good day and enjoy your weekend. It should be a fun one.